Welcome back to... God, I'm already tired of this. Let's just get to it. After another restart, we head inside and I actually remembered what it was I wanted to do in here earlier. I went around the building to check out the other rooms and there wasn't anything interesting to find. There were several doors that lead to nowhere and that's it. Actually, I lie, there are some rooms at the top where you can just run on through with a few people in here, but there's nothing interesting in them, so it's kinda pointless. There was at least one person up here who had a side quest, but they weren't in any of the actual rooms, they were just standing outside instead. I guess it kind of gives the illusion that the Galaxy Hall isn't just a big empty husk of a building? Kind of. Well, back up we go, and the folks up here are talking about the cleaver mentioned a couple times now. The leaders of the Diamond and Pearl clan have come up here to ask if there's anything we can do about it. The folks are questioning how to bring down this ancient noble of the Pearl clan, as they call it. But they're also questioning if they should even do it, because Cleaver is an ancient icon of the Pearl clan. Personally, I don't see why it matters when this thing is mauling people who go near it like an actual wild animal. I don't care how important this thing is, it's clearly a huge danger to everyone and everything around it. It needs to go down, in my eyes at least. We get a proper introduction to the leaders of these clans, starting with Adaman, the Diamond Clan leader. Despite the somewhat poor first impression outside the Galaxy Hall, he's actually a pretty swell and upbeat dude. Half his personality boils down to just time stuff, which may get a little annoying after a while, but that's just me. Otherwise, I don't mind him. In fact, I'd even say I like him. On the other hand, we have Irida, leader of the Pearl clan. Her whole thing is, as you can probably imagine, space. She finds it hard to believe we passed through the big portal in the sky, which feels a little odd when every other person here believes it, since the professor said he saw it himself. Before we can process all that, Commodore immediately steps in and says that we should go because I guess he wants us to get killed. Again, this is a very violent, angry Pokemon that has mauled several members of the Galaxy team, who are adults, presumably. Reminder, my character's 15 years old. Irida seems to think it's a bad idea, not because we're a child, but because we fell out of the sky? I'm about to go on another tangent. I don't understand why the game is so hyper-focused on highlighting that we fell from the big portal in the sky. Like, I get it, it's been mentioned a hell of a lot, and it's only going to continue. I don't know what the hell their problem is. Like, I get it, it's not normal, but why do they keep using it as justification to almost shit-talk us or act like we're some kind of threat, when we've done nothing but good since getting here? Or does everyone think I'm Satan in disguise or something? Oh wait, no, that's a different character. Following that, Irida says we have no experience, which, wow, okay, listen honey, I got 2 Galaxy Star badges. If you said that a couple days ago when I just arrived, then that comment would be much more warranted. On top of that, I've caught more Pokemon than many others in the Galaxy team, if not everyone at this point. Actually, you know what, never mind. At this point, I think I just have to accept that my character is the overpowered protagonist, simply because it has the power of the Player 1 controller. Which makes it all the more annoying when characters jump between "you're new here" and "wow, you're a miracle prodigy." Which one is it? After we accept the task, Adaman is excited to see how skilled we are, which is a really nice change of behavior for the characters. Irida, on the other hand, whines about Pokeballs and them being bad, which I was initially annoyed about because I don't really care. But then I realized she's actually correct. As I've previously talked about, why are we using them in this game instead of naturally befriending Pokemon? Silene mysteriously teleports behind us and tells us to meet her downstairs to talk about the mission. Laventon simply tells us how difficult it'll be to do anything with Cleaver while mentioning those aggressive species of Pokemon that cannot be caught outside of battle once they're wound up. Really are just acting like the game's mechanics is how reality functions. It's ridiculous. I hate it. Stop it. Stop talking about this. Like again, where is the logic that Pokeballs just suddenly don't work when a Pokemon is aggressive? It's horse crap. At least this time Silene informs us that it will be extremely dangerous and asks if we can handle it. We talk about what we could use to potentially calm the frenzied Cleaver, even though he's clearly been engulfed by some kind of powerful energy. What? Adaman and Maya suddenly appear behind us to tell us that we must have time traveled. Which, while the player we would have figured this out by now, it's neat to see the characters finally figure this out. Oh, and he just immediately moves on. Okay. I would have thought this revelation would have been portrayed in a much more important manner, but Adaman just walks in, casually says it, and then just moves right on as if it's not even all that important. This should be mind-bending for the characters, but it's just a throwaway detail that doesn't matter. What Adaman actually is here to say is that we should all try to get along as different groups and solve our similar problems together because we all share Hisui. I don't know about you guys, but these Diamond Clan folks seem to be much more reasonable and likable. Way more than the Pearl Clan, that's for sure. One thing we'll notice later is how the Pearl Clan folk are the ones with a stick up their ass, which is fine. It gives them an actual arc to go through to realize that they're wrong and we're right, and all that. But it really does make the Diamond Clan look pretty good as they are, and as a result, more likely to be correct. In other words, why is the clan representing my preferred Gen 4 game, excluding Platinum, getting shafted like this? Wrapping up, Adamant says we're the best everyone's got, which honestly just sounds insane. Do Silene and Kamado not have their own Pokemon? They're like the leaders of this thing. Am I already more skilled as a Pokemon trainer that I'm better than the leaders of these clans as well? Okay, if you say so. Oh Christ, now we get to one of the worst features of this game. So this dude standing by the stairs yells at us about how he can help us learn a trick to packing items in our satchel, and we can unlock extra space. A single extra space per use. And you have to do it multiple times if you want to unlock, like, a row. He also charges us money for it? What? And he charges more after each new slot, like a scam artist. Do I even need to explain why this is absolutely ridiculous? Why can't we just buy bigger satchels? Why do I have to mindlessly spam the A button over and over again to slowly put in new storage from this git who is showing me techniques on storing my items better? It's genuinely brain dead! Eventually I spend all my money on getting a whole 2 new rows in my inventory, but as we're about to see, that's not really even enough. There's a fat storage box in your house which you can use to store items, which admittedly I should have been using more, but I don't see this as any excuse for the system to expand your inventory to be this mind-numbing. I feel like a fool getting scammed by this guy, just giving him more and more money to unlock 1 new slot after... As we're about to leave, we meet up with Volo again and he gives us 3 super potions. I don't really care about anything else he said, it probably wasn't important, and we head back to the Obsidian Fields. After teleporting to the Deertrack Heights, I head straight in the direction of the opposite side of the island, which I only briefly ran by previously. I found some Paras, which are another aggressive on-site Pokemon, which I thought was weird because there's nothing particularly aggressive about them in their Pokedex entries. It feels like a lot of the choices on whether a Pokemon is hostile, neutral, or runs away is just random. Some make sense, like the more evolved Pokemon, you know, they'd be more confident and all. Or even things like Scyther, you know, a big, massive bug, even if it's the first evolution, with knives for hands, or, sorry, scythes for hands. But others just feel like they were put in there for the sake of it. Paras is just a small crab that you could stand on. Not that I want to, I like Paras, but was this really the right choice for an aggressive Pokemon? Wait, Paras, I'm the one who's supposed to be hiding in the grass, not you. I caught my second ever Starly here, which was hilarious. I never realized how little I'd actually caught until now. Those annoying bastards always seem to escape and then disappear off the face of the earth afterwards. Like the Bidoof, there's a Bee-Barrel here who just casually walks up to you, seemingly out of curiosity, which is interesting. You can't do anything with it, unfortunately, but wouldn't it be neat if you could bond with wild Pokemon before catching them? Making the catch rate higher, or something like that? Like, I just can't get the image out of my head of being able to walk up to these guys, maybe offer a berry in your hand instead of pelting it at them, and giving him a good pat on the head. You know, bam, instant bond with the Pokemon. The Pokemon trust you and may even follow you in battle for you, you know? Instantly a much better system than just running past and mindlessly throwing Pokeballs. There's also an Alpha Bee-Barrel here, and because he's an Alpha, he's automatically aggressive, even though the one that just... yeah, okay, sure, whatever. Whatever, I won't question it. One thing you will definitely learn right here in this spot is that when an Alpha Pokemon makes its loud sound alerting the player will be knocked over, somehow backwards, even though it's behind me, like some kind of aggressive force from its roaring. That quickly becomes annoying when I'm simply trying to run past and mind my own business, especially since, as we'll see later, that roar can knock you off a Pokemon you're riding, forcing you to wait for your character to stand up, just so you can press the button again and run off. What I'm saying is that it's an annoying waste of time. Well, now we're in a new part of the Obsidian Fields. This is a more foresty area. I don't remember the name, and I don't care to check. I mean, there's actually trees around the place, and the grass seems darker. There's also some Veneri, so of course we catch them. There's one drowning itself in this river for some reason. Some new items and some returning Pokemon like the bugs. There's Psyduck, thank you very much. Combi, I'm really enjoying seeing new Pokemon after being stuck with the same old ones for several hours now. Please save me from this nightmare. And hey, Kit Kat finally evolved into Koalava, so that's neat. It honestly blows my mind how long it's taken me to progress this far. I don't know if I've just been slow or if the game's actually this slow. We meet up with the Pearl Clan member in charge of taking care of Cleaver. His name is Leon, or Leon? I don't know. I'm gonna call him Leon. And he... oh no. Oh no, the music. Oh, it's drawing me in. It's preying on my nostalgia! No, but on a serious note, if I'm to stop being negative for a change, there's actually some good music in this game. Whether it's remixes of the old tracks from the Diamond and Pearl games, or some new additions. Some of them are a bit but we'll get to that later. The powerfully awesome Cleaver has become even more awesomely powerful. This is not how people from this time period would talk. Stop it. He tells us that we can't see Cleaver because it's too dangerous and... hang on. Did my character just actually speak? What the fuck? This far into the game, our character actually said something? Of course there's no actual voice as we've been over, but did they actually have my character mouth some stuff to another character? Of course I also had to actually pick what my character says, because they can't just give my character a text box, but wow, would you look at that? This was so surprising, even Leon pogged into the next dimension. Incredible. But alas, he tells us we still can't go forward because he won't let us, and that if we persist, we'll have to face the wrath of his... Goomy. Goomy. A fucking Goomy. Okay, if you say so. His Goomy spawns out of nowhere, and... what the fuck? Where are we? Where is this battle taking place? Why have we teleported to some random field to do this battle instead of where we just were standing? We beat him because it's nothing special, and Leon admits defeat. He tells us we still probably won't be able to do anything to Cleaver, and tells us about how he'd offer him food. Irida spawns out of nowhere to tell us that the false Sinnoh that the Diamond Clan worship could have been responsible for Cleaver's frenzied state. Gonna be honest, I stopped paying attention to the details at this point because I was getting bored, but basically we say we can figure out a way to stop it, and we'll head back to the Galaxy Hall to come up with something. The Arc Phone tells me about fast travel, something I've already been doing for a while now, so I'm not sure what the hell the point of that was in telling me this late into the game, and we head back to the Galaxy Hall. The Professor comes up with how we can try calming the Cleaver, and it basically boils down to throwing his favorite food at him until he calms down. No, I'm not kidding. It's also after these weird, different camera shots of him. I assume the idea is that he's in deep thought, but it just looks silly. Especially when there's no animations or anything to go along with it. We head back to tell the Pearl Clan about our idea, but the Diamond Clan meet up to tell us about Wordia, the ancient Pokemon from earlier, in case you're wondering. What I said about being able to ride him came true way quicker than I thought it would be, and they tell us how to do it. Maya pulls out a white cylinder and a flute. It's definitely a flute, and not something someone made in Blender in 10 seconds. Okay, well she plays the flute by having a couple muscle spasms with it, and held up to her closed mouth. Look, the animations in this game are a joke, okay? And after we're handed our own flute, we are suddenly able to do it as well. Wordia seems happy about it because he walks up to us and... Wait, where did we get that from? Huh? We received the mind plate from Wordia? How? Where was he keeping that thing? I like the look on my character's face. It goes from surprised and confused to, haha, that's cute, how the fuck did you do that? Well, now we can ride on Wordia by hitting the plus button, and he just spawns out of nowhere, whatever, I don't care at this point. Oh look, it's the jumping animation that they could have used earlier when introducing him. No, just teleport him, it's cheaper. Also, the controls on this thing are fucking weird. He turns like a tank, and the running button is switched from what it normally is, which is, pressing down the left stick, to pressing the B button? Why did they do this? Why did they make this change? I always instinctively press the left stick to run, but now I have to press a whole different button for it? Why? Okay, well, for some reason Irida thinks I need to beat her in a battle to prove I can be trusted. I don't know how that would prove literally anything, but she's beginning to tip towards the annoying character. Whatever, we'll just go with it. We defeat her easily because all she has is a Glaceon, and I have a Quilava, and she decides she now understands Pokeballs are tools of choice, not products of disregard for our Pokemon. If I were to translate that, I'm assuming she means we aren't just neglecting our Pokemon by shoving them in Pokeballs, and we're actually training and taking care of them. Well, we start off summoning the Cleaver once we make up the Balms, as they're called. Maybe I'm just a little ill-informed, but this name never made sense to me. It's mainly because whenever I hear the word balm, my brain immediately goes to lip balm. Wonderful onomatopoeia, Game Freak. You can just play the sound effect, And after that, we get the first actually somewhat competently animated scene in this game. Wait, why did they do that? What an asshole. And we're straight into it. Wow. As the player, we face off Cleaver with our food bags. I'm not calling them bombs, that sounds stupid. As mentioned, yes, we do indeed just throw them at him and chip away at his Soul's Boss health bar at the top of the screen. Now, because I played this before, I already knew how to deal with this, but I'm surprised there wasn't a tutorial of sorts, or rather that this battle wasn't more structured like a tutorial. Like a lot of things in this game, you almost have to fail at least once to learn how to do it, and the reason why that is because you can only get hit about 3 or 4 times before you're knocked down and forced to restart. Weird thing is that if you fail past a certain section of Cleaver's health, you can just restart the battle from that point instead of needing to redo anything, making the loss completely meaningless. Isn't the whole point of restarting someone after they fail something is that it's the punishment for failing? You might say that balances out with how quickly you fail, but if that's the case, then what is the point of being able to fail in the first place if you can just restart from that specific section of the boss fight? But to make things even weirder, there is an option to restart the entire battle, which should realistically be the default. I've seen people say this option exists for hardcore players, and I really need those people to look at what they've just said and what they're talking about. This is Pokemon. What makes you think Game Freak gives even the slimmest of fucks about hardcore players? I don't even think this fight is all that bad, you know, just some tweaks here and there and it would actually be good. Well, Cleaver's attacks are as follows. He prepares to swing his arms, his eyes flash, basically indicating when you should dodge, and he does exactly that, swinging forward. Simply dodge out of the way, as mentioned, and you're good. If he slams into something in the process of doing this, he'll daze himself for a moment, allowing you to send out your Pokemon. I didn't at first, because I thought the time would have been better used just continuing to pelt him until he gets lower on health. His other attacks are him slamming the floor, sending rocks out of the ground towards you, pretty neat. Another is him standing there concentrating before swinging at everything around him. Just run away as he's preparing himself doing that, and you're fine. Annoyingly, if he manages to hit you, he may immediately go straight into another attack before you can even recover, which means he unfairly gets a second hit on you. When I do eventually send out a Pokemon towards him, I send out Kit Kat, meaning he gets one shot, not just because it's super effective, but the lucky bastard got a critical hit as well. Eventually, however, I did get him down with the luck of my own critical hit, and that meant the food bags take off extra amounts of health, which is pretty neat, and quickly afterwards I managed to win. He was totally about to attack me again there. They didn't make an animation of him perhaps stumbling over once his health reaches 0. I should be used to this by now, but somehow the game manages to rip me even further out of the experience with its sheer lack of, well, anything. Oh, there's the animation of him stumbling. And we get the second somewhat competently animated cutscene. It's like 15 seconds long. Okay, well, that was something. How did he give me that? I could understand if maybe it was stuck on his axe handle or something and I had to pull it off. But how are these handleless Pokemon carrying these things and handing them to me? With their feet? I don't get it! Jesus Christ almighty. Well, the Pearl Clan folks come to see what happened. I have no idea how chucking food at this Pokemon infused with God energy suddenly made that God energy go away, and the Pokemon went back to normal. And they question if we should have even done that, because if the almighty Sinnoh made that Pokemon freak out and start killing things, then there must have been a reason. A divine reason. What the hell is wrong with you people? I don't know about you guys, but if something I'd been supposedly worshipping made something else so grand and respected suddenly turn into a ravenous, violent monster, I'd probably start questioning if I should continue worshipping such a beast. At least Irida understands that I had to do that, but what I don't understand is why they're acting like it was some awful act. All I did was throw food at it until the super duper god power went away. What is wrong with you people? Well, Irida gives me 3 citrus berries, I don't care about anything else they have to say, so I head off to continue exploring. For some reason, when you reach the edge of the map, a horrendous fog rolls in at a terrifying speed, basically the game's way of telling you to fuck off because you can't go any further.
Guys, I found a low punny.
Volo appears once we get back to the village, seemingly waiting for us, and he freaks out when he notices we have the 2 items that the ancient Pokemon gave us. Plates, as they're called. If you're familiar with Diamond and Pearl, or Pokemon as a whole, you'll know these actually belong to Arceus and can be used to change what type he is if you have him. Volo is clearly very interested in them because he stands up like he's about to attack us for them. We let him take a look in a fade to black because even reusing the animation from before, where we pull out our Arc phone but instead it's one of the plates in our hand instead, too much difficulty for Game Freak, let alone any actual new animation where we might pull out both of them at once or something, I don't know. It says some mysterious mumbo-jumbo about Arceus, and Volo implies that something great could happen if we collect all of the plates, and he buggers off again. I decided to check out the hairdresser to see what new looks I could give myself, only to find out that there's 5 other hairstyles. 6 counting my current one. And none of them look all that great. Okay, well, how about instead I just change my color, you know? Something neat. Oh. There's only 4 other colors, and half of them are just the other options from the opening of the game. Really? That's it? I can only hope that more options will come later in the game, because this is just bleak. I mean, I know I said earlier that customization is kind of worthless, but at least make the options available worth it, if you're going to go through the effort of putting it in. Well, we visit Commodore and he congratulates us on our efforts, even saying it deserves recognition. Considering how much you guys suck, I would have thought everything I've done so far would be worthy of recognition, but whatever, I'll take my W's where I can get them. Unfortunately, he immediately tells us that there are other frenzied Pokemon for us to go help, meaning we're just the resident frenzy Pokemon fixer now. There's another meal and conversation with Ray and Lamberton. I don't really care about any of this except we get the recipes for smoke bombs, something that will help us later, but for now, we're off to bed. But before we can do that, some little girl with the power of spooky sound effects speaks to us, so she's clearly evil and we have to kill her. She tells us about wisps around the region and that she wants our help finding them. 107 to be exact, while giving us an odd keystone to collect them. If you're familiar with Pokemon, you already know where this is going. After a good night's rest, we wake up and holy moly, is that an actual animation? No way, it's... oh. She just snaps into a different direction and walks away immediately. They showed off that neat animation and then they ruined it. Always one step forward, 2 steps back with Game Freak, isn't it? We meet a girl named Arezu, who's another warden of the Diamond Clan. And according to her, there's talk spreading around the Diamond Clan about our achievements with the Cleaver. She's headed to see Commodore, which is what we're up to as well, and we go over how there's another ancient noble Pokemon out of control. So we go to a brand new area. Finally, oh, wait, hold on, we have to battle Ray first. He has a Mime Jr. and his Pikachu. They were actually higher level than I was expecting, but they were still just pushovers, except his Pikachu paralyzing and knocking out Kit Kat. I was actually surprised by that. After Ray gives us the crafting recipe for Stealth Sprays, an item that hides your footsteps, we make it to the Crimson Mayalands. It's a fucking pile of shit. It looks worse than the Obsidian Fields. The Obsidian Fields area looked like shit as well, but I guess the devs decided, what if we made it look like literal shit, and created this abomination? And it looks worse the further in you go. What the hell is wrong with you guys, Game Freak? Ugh, okay, well, there's a whole heap of new Pokemon to catch at least, so there's that. I'm not sure why there's some old Pokemon like Kricketot, Psyduck, and Paris when we not long ago just ran into the latter two, but at least on the new side there's Bidoof, which are frustrating little creatures at times, Carnivine, Krogunk, Yanma, and several others. Thank God we're no longer seeing Starly every 3 seconds, Jesus Christ. And thanks to the permanently turned on XP share, my Magikarp evolved despite not having used him once. Hooray! After messing around for some time, I finally went where I needed to go, meeting up with Caliber of the Pearl Clan. She's a short old lady who's a bit of a stuck-up because she's hard glued to traditions, meaning she doesn't want help from either the Diamond Clan or the Galaxy team. Volo suddenly appears and he wants to battle us in these ruins where we find ourselves. His Togepi from last time is now higher level, and he has a new Gibble. We still beat him easily because, again, I have 6 Pokemon and he only has 2, and we turn the focus to why we're even here. Turns out someone has stolen a piece of these ancient ruins and we have to go find it, presumably to win over Caliber in accepting our help, and also just because it's a nice thing to do. After some quick exploring, we discover the Tard Trio, as I'll call them. They're made up of 3 obvious ancestors of characters from other Pokemon games, though I don't remember their names in the slightest because it's not important in any way. One of them wants to battle us for the ancient ruins piece thingy that the trio stole. Coin. Bandit Coin. Her name is Coin. Coin! Oh my god, guys, look, she did the thing. She did the pose that... Wait a minute. Is this incorrect? Isn't this the wrong ancestor being referenced? Or is this not a reference to Saturn from Team Galactic? Am I reading too much into this? Well, she has a Toxicroak who goes down rather easily. We get the ancient ruin piece thingamajiggy back, and I catch some Pokemon before returning to the ruins. After fixing the ruin text, it basically tells Caliber to stop being a twat and accept help from others, which she is helped in understanding after we, of course, just helped her. The jumping physics of this game. That's all I have to say about that. Another thing that I haven't gone over yet is that you can throw out your Pokemon to seemingly have a chat with them, even though it's just you standing there nodding with your Pokemon sometimes making noise. I don't know. All I know is that they removed following Pokemon again because that's the hardest thing for Game Freak to code for some reason only Arceus knows. Well, after catching some more Pokemon, I reached the area where the game actually looks like straight up doo-doo. Genuinely, I don't know what more to say about this game's graphics other than I have no clue how they accomplished this. What lengths did they go to so the game could look like this? Going on another small tangent, I genuinely can't tell if Game Freak doesn't have the time to optimize or if they straight up don't know how to. They have to brute force their game into a good frame rate using the Switch 2 hardware. Pokemon Winds and Waves is a Switch 2 exclusive, by the way. It shouldn't be, but because it looks like a game that was actually made in modern day, of course they have no clue how to make it work on the Switch 1, so they aren't putting it on there. Do you know what I want? I would love to see a Pokemon game made by the team at Nintendo that does the Mario games. They would knock it out of the park. They put so much effort into what they create. Especially the team that did games like Mario Odyssey, or hell, even the Zelda team. This game feels like it's trying hard to be like Breath of the Wild, so I would love to see what the Breath of the Wild team could actually do if they were in charge of making a Pokemon game. Before moving on with what I have to do, I ended up catching some more Pokemon and heading back to get my 3rd Galaxy Star badge. My Pokemon can now reach level 40 and I can use Great Balls, finally, a Pokeball that's actually better at catching without sacrificing how far you can throw it. You can craft them like normal Pokeballs with the addition of iron chunks you can find laying on the ground. Really is fascinating how Pokeballs are a new invention, yet there's already several kinds with different strengths and abilities. It's almost like that line about Pokeballs being a recent invention was total bullshit. We make it to where Caliber is waiting for us, and the ancient Pokemon we need to calm is one called Ursaluna. Weirdly enough, we don't have the food bags from the first noble battle, and Ursaluna is also not glowing, meaning we just engage in a regular battle with it. Caliber points out that we have to calm him, not catch him, which opens up a really interesting story idea that Pokeballs could have been invented, and people who have simply befriended Pokemon for a good while might have their Pokemon stolen by people invading with Pokeballs. Oh wait, that would actually be an interesting story, so of course they're not doing anything like that. Seriously, how does this woman trust me not to just pelt Ursaluna with a Pokeball and take him for myself? Well, Ursaluna is defeated quite easily, and on top of that, it seems like poison is actually what made it enraged and not Arceus ass blasting it with the weird lightning. So that one was pretty easy, and with that, we unlock the ability to use Ursaluna to find items, something I literally never used unless the story wanted me to. After this, we can head back to the village, and we're informed of a Pokemon that is actually enraged by the almighty Sinnoh's power, unlike Ursaluna. A Lilligant, or Lilligant? I think it's Lilligant, whatever. One that this time, the Diamond Clan are very fond of instead. We're assigned to take care of it again, and we're off to find Arizu, since she has the food bags for this one. So we head back and, using Ursaluna, we track her down. Seems she's injured her leg, and somehow Caliber finds her way here seconds after we did, even though we literally needed to use Ursaluna to get here, and Caliber is a little old lady. Well, she helps Arizu with her injured leg, and Arizu explains that the poison on Ursaluna came from the frenzied Lilligant, which is what caused it to act all wild, but thankfully not as wild as an actual frenzied Pokemon. Adamant also appears out of nowhere. How are you people suddenly finding her when I needed Ursaluna to come all the way out here? What the hell? Might as well have just made you guys come out here for me. He pretty much calls Arizu a dum-dum for not asking help, but she's forgiven, and we move on. And so, with the food bags that Arizu collected, we find the location of Lilligant. We get another somewhat properly animated cutscene, and begin we do. The second Noodle. I wrote Noodle, what the hell? And begin we do, the second noble battle with the frenzied Lilligant. Okay, this one's actually kind of fun. So it starts off with the game telling me how to... What? It starts off with the game telling me how to dodge? Huh? Are you kidding me? You had a whole moment for that at the start of the game! Why are you shoving this pop-up on my screen at the second frenzied Pokemon battle? What the hell? Anyways, Lilligant will dance around before hopping from one place to another. When she does, these green bursts will come out that you have to dodge. Eventually, after she does enough attacks, she'll get dizzy and then you can throw out your Pokemon. Thankfully, due to her typing, I don't have to worry about her one-shotting Kit-Kat this time, and this fight ends up being a lot easier than the first. She can also release this slow wave that you have to dodge over. Simple stuff, but there's nothing particularly wrong with it. And that's it! That fight was easy. I actually had fun. Good job, Legends Arceus, you actually did something right, and it only took... Jesus, have I been playing for that long already? Well, after we get the same animation from the first frenzied fight, for fuck's sake, they actually make a well-animated cutscene and they have to reuse it. Are you kidding me? Lilligant gives us the Meadow Plate because I guess she was storing it in her ass, and we have quelled our second frenzied Pokemon. The folks congratulate and thank me for my efforts. I'm honestly paying attention to the dialogue less and less at this point. And off we go. Volo congratulates us too, assuming the light fading from Lilligant into the sky was our doing. He mentions we might even change the course of history in Hisui. I'm not sure what he means by that, but it's giving me the idea that if we were to somehow teleport back to modern day, things would be very different from when we left. That's all he really has to say and disappears after that. Moving on. My Drifloon evolved into Drifblim, which was nice. Something I don't think I've mentioned is that you can easily swap out Pokemon's moves in this game. Unlike previous Pokemon games where you have to find a certain NPC to make your Pokemon remember old moves for whatever reason, Here, you can just swap them out willy-nilly. New moves when they're unlocked from your Pokemon leveling up, or going back to old moves if you want to. Congrats, Legends Arceus, you've got like 4 or 5 positives on the chart next to like the hundreds of negatives so far, nitpicks or not. Okay, Kamado is really starting to piss me off. He's obsessed with the idea that I'm a stranger who fell out of a hole in the sky, and somehow that seems to make him distrust me despite all my efforts. He also seems to think because both I and the Frenzy Lightning are coming from the same hole, I might be responsible for it? Where the hell is he getting this idea from, when all I've done is help fix what the lightning has done? We may need to investigate the rift itself. Why haven't you done that already? Are you just sitting in this office all day doing nothing? Finally, someone acknowledges the rift should be investigated, and it's this many hours into the game? Several days later continuity-wise? This fucking village could split in half with the ground opening to an insane underground cavern with lava shooting out, and Kamado over here would probably say, oh well, we should probably investigate that sometime, but for now I feel like blaming the child instead. And that would come maybe a week after it's actually happened. You are an embarrassment. You do not deserve the title of leader of the Galaxy team. You are a clown. Well, the next day, Kamado and I go out to the beach from the start of the game to greet some newcomers. Excuse me, what the fuck? We heard the Hisui region is inhabited by many powerful and frightening Pokemon. Are the other regions not potentially the same, considering the time period? We also heard the Galaxy team knows a great deal about Pokemon. Huh? And uses their mysterious powers to help Jubilife Village grow? What? Where are you getting this from? You have heard both correctly. No the fuck you have not. That is what allows us to welcome newcomers like them. Excuse me? Okay, I get it. At this current point in time, everyone knows we fell from the sky. I understand. But back when I was new, I was just a lost child, and yet you animals were willing to throw me out to the wild Pokemon to die simply because I was new? What about these assholes? Where's their test to catch several wild Pokemon to prove that they can be trusted, huh? Why do they get special treatment but the seemingly lost child, me, gets thrown to the wind upon first meeting you? Do I truly love Pokemon? Yes, I do! But let me guess, Pokemon are terrifying creatures. Yeah, you've said that several times already. Let me guess, you're gonna use that as a reason to distrust me. Oh my god. Be warned, as the leader of the Galaxy team, I am prepared to make harsh decisions in order to protect Jubilife Village. He's still threatening the child! But the new adults are allowed to do whatever, no issues? What the fuck is your problem? Well folks, it looks like he's about to blow someone's head off, so we'll just have to let him cool off until next time on the Pokemon Legends Arceus review. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not really sure what to say at the end of these videos anymore. And all I can hope for is that you're enjoying yourself, at least a lot more than I am. Because any more of this insanity from this clown bozo, this stupid village, and this stupid society, and I'm ready to jump in front of a moving vehicle!